मोबाइल कहाँ में तो मोबाइल का
Madanji, good morning.
Good morning, Rana.
Very nice to see you after a very long
last
time.
time I saw you, but that was a quick and things were getting.
Yes, I know. And I really enjoyed your little 1-minute introduction, which was very nice.
Thank you.
As always.
It has been a long time now we have met. And
we haven't met, I know.
Because further aggravated, all travel, everything.
Right. Yeah, I miss the Homi Baba Center meetings actually.
Yeah.
And Bimal is there, our partner.
Yeah, he's always there. Smiling.
Absolutely.
Can we start now? It's
yes.
10.
Yeah, fine. I'm fine.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. This is Dr. Shashikumar Menon again, welcoming you all to the last day of our web-based workshop. I'm sure in the last 7 days, you have enriched yourself with various skills, various informations, and various strategies that you must take to crack the national level competitive exams like NET and GATE. And I'm also sure that most of you have done your afternoon self-evaluation tests and you have realized the weaker areas and the stronger points of your strategies of preparing for these exams. And I'm sure those who have done very well, definitely don't be overconfident, because this is only a glimpse of various questions that you get in these examinations. We have just tried to sensitize you to the various techniques that you need to adopt to crack these exams. So try to improve yourself at every level and do well. And today we have, as the last session of this particular series of web-based workshop, we have an interesting speaker today, Professor Anindya Sinha, who is from the, let me, 1 minute. Yeah. He is an adjunct faculty at the National Institute of Advanced Sciences, Bangalore. very fondly, we call him Professor Rana. In fact, he is a very evident speaker and very passionate, and you will realize it when you listen to him from the work that he has done and the experiences that he is going to share with you. Apart from the National Institute of Advanced Sciences at Bengaluru, he is also associated with 9 institutions in India and in UK. He is basically a doctorate in molecular biology from the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research at Mumbai. And then during his doctorate, he did research on biochemical genetics of yeast. He left that behind and took up a very different route in his research career, and he shifted to behavioral ecology and ethology, which he conducted at 2 institutes at Bangalore. One, the Center for Ecological Sciences, Indian Institute of Science, and the other one, the National Center for Biological Sciences. He also works in the area of social cognition in primates, human, non-human species relationship. This is a very interesting area where he also looks at the other most commonly, talked about topic of man-wildlife conflict. He doesn't like to call it as conflicts, man and wildlife. It is just human and non-human species. That's a very good way of looking at that particular perspective. He received the TED Fellowship in 2009, and currently he is working again in various aspects of behavioral ecology, evolutionary biology, behavioral genetics, human-wildlife relationship, and urban ecologies. He is interested, apart from all these scientific areas of behavioral ecology, he is also interested in the basic philosophy of biology, on which he gives a lot of interesting talks. And also, he is very interested in cultural heritage of India. He's very, very closely associated with the International Biology Olympiads since last 2 decades. He's also a visiting faculty at various institutions in India and abroad. He has several publications in peer-reviewed journals and also contributed chapters in various books. Today, he is going to give a very interesting talk, which he has very interestingly entitled it as "A Rolling Stone Gathers Some Moss, Reflections on a Primate Life." I'm very, very sure that you all will gain a lot of insight into the primate behavior and the way research is done, especially in field biology. Before I hand over the platform to Dr. Rana, I would like to remind the participants, please reconfirm that your mics are muted and that your videos are off. You can put in your questions in the chat box, which we would like to address at the end of the talk, after which we'll proceed with the other sessions of this last day of the workshop. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Shashi, for that wonderful introduction. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not an adjunct faculty at NIAS. I'm a professor there right now. All my other positions are more adjunct. So thank you again for this great honor. I wanted to thank not only ATBS, but also INYAS for inviting me to give this talk. And I hope I will be able to share with you some of the philosophies that has driven me in the course of my research career, right? Can I just share my presentation?
Yes, surely.
All right. So perhaps, can you see a blank screen? Yes. I hope you can all see this blank screen. Yes. So this is how my life began, of course. My academic life began. And along the way, I have learned many things, which I wanted to share very briefly with you. And one of the most important conclusions I have drawn in the course of my research life is that after all the work that we have done, sometimes poets and humorists say it much better than all that we want to say. And so I will start off with a quotation from a humorist, Malcolm de Chazal, who very few people know about. He lived and died on the island of Mauritius. He was a French speaking humorist. And this is what he had to say. He said, monkeys are superior to men in this. When a monkey looks into the mirror, he sees a monkey, right? And I think this is extremely insightful, because it speaks not about monkeys as much as it does about us and how we perceive ourselves. And so I will speak today, and I've called it Reflections on a Primate Life. And this primate, of course, is me, because all of us are primates. All of us have our difficulties of living a primate life. And the reason I have put against my name a number, I think about 10 institutions, is because I'm currently working with all these 10 institutions. And I have, as Shashi pointed out, I have adjunct positions. And the reason, again, why I want to talk about this is to just highlight how much of a rolling stone I have been. Because some of these institutions, as you can see, includes those working in public health, those working in neuroscience, those working in humanities. And I think the greatest pleasure that I've had in the course of my academic life is that I've been able to dabble and become a jack of a number of trades. And I wanted to share that experience with you. However, having said that, it is also true that physically, I have not moved much, right? I began my career doing botany in the Presidency College of Kolkata. And there's a picture of the corridor where our Department of Botany was located. And I went on to do yes. Sorry. So I went on to work in various other institutions. I have not shown a picture of the Calcutta University where I did my master's, but here you can see TIFR, where I did my PhD. And then I moved to the Center for Ecological Sciences, which is here in the Institute of Science, where I did my first postdoc, and then to NCBS, this is the new NCBS in Bangalore. At that time, they worked out of a building within the ISC campus. And finally, I moved to NIAS right here, which is where I am currently. And I've been here for 26 years now. What I wanted to tell you is that after I moved from Bombay to Bangalore, my entire career of now 30 years has been spent within one campus, the Indian Institute of Science campus, moving from the Center for Ecological Sciences to NCBS to NIAS, where I am right now. So I think the other lesson that I learned from here is that while you can be physically restricted to maybe one place, there is nothing that stops your intellectual activities. That continues, right? And so let me move on. So after having done botany and cytogenetics for my master's, I went on to do microbial biochemical genetics and molecular biology, as Shashi mentioned, in TIFR. And I have a little thing in brackets there called almost marine biology. And that is because after I finished my undergraduate degree, I was always very interested in marine biology. I joined the Andhra University at Voltaire, their Department of Oceanography, to do a master's. But the Calcutta University results after my BSc examination came out 1 year late. And so Andhra University Voltaire threw me out, and I came back to Calcutta University. I had no choice to do a master's in botany there. And the lesson there that I learned is that sometimes institutions that you work in may not be favorable to what you actually want. But I don't think there is any stopping, because yes, I couldn't do marine biology then, but there's nothing that prevents me from doing marine biology subsequently in my life. And so therefore, I think we shouldn't get dampened sometimes by these kind of officialdom, these kind of bureaucracies, which sometimes stop us. If we are very clear and definite about what we would like to do, there is really no stopping us. Anyway, so I moved on. And let me talk a bit about microbial biochemical genetics, not so much academically, but my experiences before I tell you why I then shifted fields. In the course of your career, you often meet a number of very interesting people. And whether you recognize it or not, they shape your lives. They shape your thinking. And one such man was the late Professor Pobitra Kumar Moitro, who was my PhD supervisor. In fact, I was his last student. In 1963, he moved to the TIFR, and where with Professor Obaid Siddiqui, who has also unfortunately passed away, the two of them set up the molecular biology unit, or what is now called the Department of Biological Sciences at TIFR. And of course, what struck me most about Professor Moitro is that he had an amazing love for beer, which I loved as well, and a love for yeast, which is what I worked on. And I wanted to join him. And in fact, there's a very interesting story there. He asked me, "Oh, you want to work with me? Do you drink beer?" And I didn't know what to say, because if I said yes, would it go against me? Or if I said no, then I wouldn't be honest. So I said, I just nodded and I said, yeah. And he said, yes or no. And I said, yes, I drink beer. He said, then you can work with me. So I think the reason I want to tell you this is to say how remarkable certain people are in the way they think, and how some non-academic decisions can actually turn your academic career around. There were also certain rules Professor Moitro had. He was an amazingly hard worker. He would be in the lab from 8 in the morning till 8 in the night. And he worked with his hands. So if the spectrophotometer didn't work, he knew how to repair it. He knew exactly what was happening. And that is a very different kind of a guide from today, where many of our guides spend all their time writing proposals and writing the papers, while the students and the postdocs do all the hard work. He wasn't like that, right? And there were certain principles, which I call the Moitro principles. And I just want to talk about it because it just tells you how different he was in his thinking from a lot of people I have worked with. He once told me, my career does not depend on your productivity. After all, the doctorate is your problem. And he therefore told me that if I had publications or if I didn't have publications, it didn't matter to him because he would have his own publications anyway. And he therefore said, you do not include me as an author if I have not contributed to that work at all. And that, I think, is a remarkable statement, which I have tried to follow in my life as well. And it's important because there is something about academic integrity, academic honesty, which I think all of us should aspire for. Right. And finally, when I made the shift to studying monkeys, I remember in my last committee meeting before my PhD closed, some of the committee members, whose names I don't want to necessarily mention, were very disappointed that I had decided to study monkeys for my rest of my life. And I wanted to give up molecular biology and biochemistry. And I remember Professor Moitro saying in that meeting, he was the only man who said, if he wants to study monkeys, there must be something in it. And I think that was remarkable. He himself had no clue why I wanted to study monkeys and why I wanted to go there. But he was open enough to think and have that faith in me that if I wanted to study monkeys, I must have seen something really exciting in it, right? And that, I think, helped me change this decision, because I moved on, and here is my first paper. And I just wanted to tell you that it's called A Search for Mutations That Affect the Non-Oxidative Pentose Phosphate Pathway in Saccharomyces cerevisiae. And there are several lessons here. One is, of course, the fact that I authored it on my own, simply because Professor Moitro felt that he had not contributed enough. By the way, this work that is in this paper was 3 years of my PhD out of the 5 years. And what is important to note is that it's entirely negative results. And therefore, there are two take-home messages here. One, negative results are extremely important. They're extremely important because they tell us in which direction not to go, which I think is as important as telling us about which directions we should go in. There's plenty of papers that will tell you in which direction to go, but very few will tell you where not to go, because these have come out of hard work. These have come out of deep thinking. And yet we went wrong, not because of human error, but because that's not how the pathway works. And because of these negative results, in the last 2 years of my PhD, I could turn to something more positive, but that indication came from these results. The second take-home message is that this paper was published in Journal of Genetics, and I therefore wanted to make a plea that just don't go by impact factor, don't go also by whether a journal is Indian or foreign. Of course, you must go to journals which are rigorous, where you will have good peer reviews of your work, but there is nothing that prevents you from publishing in Indian journals. In fact, I think you should, simply because these are international journals published from India, but we also have a role to play in uplifting the level of science we do through our own contributions. And I think this is one way of doing it. Anyway, to move on, I finished my PhD and then decided to move into animal ecology, behavior, and cognitive science. And why did I make this decision? I made this decision because of two kind of reasons. One is a very personal reason, which is that I got a little tired of sitting inside a lab. Now, this is, of course, a personal, very, very personal decision. I mean, I had a lovely position on my work table where I could see the sea outside my TIFR campus. I loved working in the lab, but that's not how I wanted to see the entire world. I thought I would want to go out into the open. That was one. Second, of course, I was always interested in animals. And at the time I went in for a PhD, there was no courses in animal behavior where I could do a PhD. And therefore, I went into molecular biology because that was what attracted me then. But then later I realized that I wanted to spend more time in other fields that I'm more interested in. Also, I didn't want to, because I had taken a decision, and this is another decision I took, that I wanted to work in India. I did not want to go abroad. And that told me that if I continued my work in molecular biology, I would be really dependent on foreign technology. I would be dependent on Indian bureaucracy for -80 refrigerators to come, for my enzyme kits to arrive. And I didn't want that. I wanted to work in a field where perhaps my intellectual contributions could overcome the kind of logistic problems that many of us in India doing science find. And so that made me change. And of course, when I came to the Indian Institute of Science and I gave a talk in the biochemistry department, the talk was appreciated. I spoke about my PhD work, but one of the faculty in the biochemistry department, who later went on, in fact, to become a director of the institute, had this to say. He told a friend of mine who was a faculty member there that I wonder why Anindya is in the Institute of Science doing a postdoc. There must be something seriously wrong with him. And I wanted to therefore tell you that when I was doing my postdoc in the early 1990s, and perhaps this continues even today to a certain extent, you don't become an Indian postdoc. An Indian postdoc is either a failed postdoc or someone who has no ambition. Why would you want to stay in India? Happily, those times have changed. And I do know that now there's so many more opportunities, so many more institutions, wonderful people working in these institutions. And I think the world has really opened up. But then you also have fights at home, right? And so I wanted to study monkeys, and my father was very, very upset with me. And he told me, what are you going to do? Just look at how the monkey's tail wags. Is that what you want to do? You have a career in molecular biology. Why do you want to give it up? And what I told him then, and I completely believe in it today, is that no knowledge is ever wasted. And I think this is important because having done my PhD in molecular biology, what I realized is that there is so much of control. There is so much of rigorousness that can be brought into even the descriptive sciences like ecological sciences. And that I learned because of my molecular biology PhD. Because I was in a lab doing control experiments, I learned not only about how to do molecular biology, but how the philosophy of doing control experiments in the laboratory. And I have returned. I have returned to population genetics. I have returned back to the laboratory through my collaborators. And therefore, really, I believe no knowledge is ever wasted. But the other lesson I think that's important is sometimes speak out against your family, against your peers, against your professors, on academic grounds because of your convictions. If you really believe that you would like to pursue a certain field, if you convince yourself that you can work there, you would love to work there, I'm sure you can convince others as well why you would like to work there. And I think don't give up, don't compromise always on some of these major decisions. Sometimes follow your heart, because ultimately that's where you will perhaps be most significant. And if you're abroad, come back home. I think we have so much to contribute to our society, our community, our country. And I know science has no national boundaries, and I don't believe in it either. But I do think there is something to be said about interacting with students, interacting with your peers, work publishing in Indian journals. And I think, importantly, as Lord Alfred Tennyson said, we have to strive, we have to seek, we have to find, and never to yield. And I think that is a message I would like to pass on to you. Right. Now, let me now move slightly more from a personal, I will return to it later, but from a personal experience to a slightly more academic angle. We know that there's a very large number of primates, and I was always attracted to primates because they're evolutionarily so close to me. I felt that by studying them, I would perhaps have insights into our own species as well. And here is a list of various species, which I don't want to get in, but all those in red, the Nilgiri langur, golden langur, and Fiery's langur, are the only three species that I have never worked on. I have worked on all the other species in different capacities. And therefore, I think it's also true that the sky is the limit. If you really want to do certain kinds of work in certain systems, it's always possible to move out, to do. And I think a lot of this depends on how inspired you feel, how passionate you feel, and how much of hard work you can put in. And so I just wanted to give this just as examples. I'm not saying that this is the life one has to look for. All I'm saying is this is the life I found, and it has yielded very richly for me. And today I can say that I have no regrets. If I stop working, if I drop down dead, I'll be a happy person to go, because I have sought and I have learned. There are always limits to how much you learn, but I think I have learned. And I think that is what is most important. You learn something new, perhaps every day. Right. So moving on, you can look at primates again at various levels, right? So there are communities, there are species, there are populations, and populations are composed of societies. And of course, you have individuals, which are the basic units in some sense of evolution, and these individuals have minds. And the reason why I'm talking about these different levels of organization is because this is essential biology. But more importantly, each level is actually connected to the other levels, right? So if I do not understand how a particular monkey is taking a decision, and I don't understand the mind of the monkey, will I ever understand how that monkey continues to live in a particular community? Right? What characterizes the species? What characterizes only that particular individual? So each level of work actually feeds into the other levels. And I think it's important, and it was very important for me to keep my eyes and ears open for that. Now, I'll just give you a few examples of the kind of work I've done, and I'll go a little quickly through this. Looking at communities, I have worked in Assam, in the Northeast, and in Arunachal Pradesh, where I have looked at macaque communities. Please remember that no monkey lives in isolation. You have communities, and they sometimes live in fragmented forests which are under great threat. And therefore, I've called this living in a practical world and facing real life problems. However esoteric your studies may be, it's not always that you can afford to do them. There are also real life problems that look at you. Now, the Northeast particularly is an extremely rich area for primates, but they are in peril. And the last lowland rainforests of the Brahmaputra Valley are heavily fragmented. And here is the fate of three particular species populations in one particular fragment, where even in the course of our understanding, the three species went locally extinct, right? But all is not lost. There are other fragments where perhaps populations may come down, they may stabilize. For some species, perhaps they may even rise up in numbers. But the important question here is that we need to understand some of these ecosystems, some of these communities before they disappear, some of these species before they disappear. And I've called them the last questions. What are the factors that have promoted such remarkable primary diversity in these evergreen fragments? One particular fragment, the Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, where I have worked for a very long period of time, has only 18 square kilometers of rainforest left, 18 square kilometers. And we have 6 species of primates living there. How have these primate species coexisted in spite of the rapid degradation of the habitat? How important is niche specialization in promoting primate coexistence? What is the nature of the interspecies interactions within these communities? And most importantly, perhaps for some of us, can we save these last primate populations? And so you see that your questions that you fundamentally ask in science can have extremely important repercussions for conservation, for our application. If you might work in the medical science, and some of your fundamental research in the medical sciences will inform practice, medical practice. You will be saving perhaps lives of thousands of patients through your work. And therefore, I think we all need to be very, very conscious of the responsibility that rests on our shoulders. Right. Moving on, and here I just very quickly want to give you 2 examples of how I looked at species at other levels as well. And one of this was, again, relating to our threatened biodiversity, was on the Arunachal macaque, which is a species that we reported for the first time in 2005. Now, let me just spend a bit of time on this species. Now, we reported this, and I'm calling this a report. It's not a discovery, because the traditional people knew it for a very long time, knew the species. This is in the Tawang, West Kameng districts of Western Arunachal Pradesh. We went there on a survey and found these monkeys, which seemed to be like nothing that was known in the literature, but the local people knew about it. Right? And so there are certain lessons we learned when we uncovered the species. The first is we did not want to sacrifice an animal, which you have to when you report a new species. And then I discovered from the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature that you could actually report a new species on the basis of good quality photographs. And so the holotype and the paratypes for this new species are good quality photographs. The second lesson is, what did we decide to call it scientifically? A lot of people asked us, do you want to call it after yourselves? And I think that's such a indignified thing to do. Why am I important? What is important is that the species exists and we want to talk about it. We want to learn about it. We want to share our world with it. And we decided that we should name it the Munzala, which actually is the Dirang Monpa. The Monpas are the Buddhist communities who live in that area. They have known this monkey for centuries, and they have called it the Munzala. And we decided that the scientific name should be Munzala. And I think here the lesson that I learned is that traditional knowledge is very deep. Sometimes our science models, much of this borrowed from the Western sciences, tends to walk over much of these traditional knowledge systems, which is the reason why Ayurveda or homeopathy have virtually been killed during colonial times. But perhaps there are very, very important lessons we can still learn from them. They may have a completely different perspective, but we need to perhaps understand this because it could inform our lives as well. Several other lessons. The way we reported the species was through looking at morphometry, geography, and genetics. And I think this tells you how we don't live in isolation. Interdisciplinary research is extremely important for us to gain insights that we otherwise wouldn't if we worked only in one particular discipline. The second very important lesson that I must tell you is that philosophy. You must look at all the work that you do in terms of its underlying philosophy of biology, which is very different from the philosophy of physics, mind you. It has been ruled by the philosophy of physics, but philosophy of biology is something each of us have to contribute to. And what we learn through this is the question of what is a species? Can our morphometry, can our geography, can our genetics work on the species? Tell us whether it's a species. And the simple answer is that no, we still do not have a fundamental objective definition of species. I don't have time to discuss that now, but while I was doing this work, I suddenly realized that there was another author who had said this. In short, we shall have to treat species in the same manner as those naturalists treat genera, who admit that genera are merely artificial combinations made for convenience. This may not be a cheering prospect, but we shall at least be free from the vain search for the undiscovered and the undiscoverable essence of the term species. So basically, this author is saying, we don't know what a species is, right? And this is exactly what I thought at the same time. Who is this individual? The individual is none other than Charles Darwin, right? And what a remarkable man he was. In the same book, The Origin of the Species, where he talked about and tried to define what a species was, he ends up saying that I may be completely wrong. Maybe there's nothing called a species. Maybe it's just a human artifact. And that is an extremely important lesson that I have learned. If you are truly dedicated to science, you need to have that ability to say, I may be wrong. Maybe this is not what I've discovered may not be correct. Maybe tomorrow someone else will further truth in a different way. And that also tells you philosophically that truth is local. Truth is sometimes regional. Truth is sometimes temporal. It can change. And biology is a wonderful field where we learn this. Right? Okay, moving on to the bonnet macaque, which is a species that I've studied it for 30 years. I told you about the large number of species that I've studied, but this species has been the one that I have loved the most. And people still ask me, how can you spend 30 years with just one species? And I'm sure, as Bimol will tell you, or Madanji will tell you, that there's so much to learn. And forget about the species. There's so much to learn from one community, one group of individuals, that your life is never enough. And I think as you look and as you search, you will discover new things. Now, I don't want to spend too much time because I know I will run out of time, but the bonnet macaque is a very interesting species because it has a wide ecological distribution, but more importantly, it's an extremely ecologically adaptable, socially flexible species, which shows remarkable phenotypic flexibility or phenotypic plasticity, right? And we did a project which lasted for 20 years, from 2000 to 2020, and we call it the Bandipur project. And here what we've done is basically looked at the demography, the behavioral ecology, and the life history strategies of more than 30 troops in the Bandipur Mudumalai National Parks. We have completed the field work, but what I also want to tell you is that we've absolutely identified as individuals 2,000, more than 2,000 individuals that we have regularly monitored over 20 years. And the point I want to make here is that each individual is different, is unique. If you've seen one monkey, you've really not seen them all. And I will extend that to say, if you've seen one cockroach, you've really not seen them all. Because I think we've just not bothered about individual variability across cockroaches. But let me tell you that there are different levels of aggression in individual cockroaches regulated by 3 genes. Right? So I think there is so much that we yet need to learn. If you look at those 5 macaque males whose pictures I show on the right, it tells you how easy it is to identify them as individuals because they all have different hairstyles. But let me also tell you, they have different personalities as well. They have completely different life history strategies as well. And we can never generalize. Yes, there are species typical features, but that's true for humans as well. But can we talk about an entire community of humans in one paper? Perhaps not. And I don't think we can do this about macaques as well. I think, therefore, an extremely important focus that we now have to move into is from the species level to the population, and from the population level to the individuals, because we don't make sense unless we talk of individuals in biology. And I think this is by and large true. It may not be true for amoebae, but it is definitely true for macaques. Right. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on bonnet macaques again, but I just wanted to tell you that the kind of work that we have done is where basically we have looked at social evolution, change that we are bringing in through anthropogenic forces. Our presence in Bandipur has made them change their behavior. Their society has fallen apart. Their individual behavioral profiles have changed. And what we have also discovered in the course of this is that we are seeing not only genetic evolution, we are also seeing culture in this. And there is a gene culture co-evolution paradigm that we need to now bring into animal lives as well. And the kind of differences that we've seen across individuals in their demography, sociality, in their behavioral ecology tells you how important, and I've already said this, how important personality and individual variation is. And we need to find methods that will actually allow us to understand this. And finally, as I did speak about in Assam, it's also important to find effective management strategies for the species, not only in protected areas, where in Bandipur and Mudumalai, the tourists coming and feeding the monkeys have completely changed their lives forever, but also in rural and human areas where there is severe human-macaque conflict. And I can tell you that there is very little hope for survival of the primates. So moving on, and I will now just give me another 2-3 minutes to finish. I've looked at the primate mind, and the important reasons why we need to understand the mind is, of course, philosophical. What is it like to be a monkey? Evolutionary, how did we come to be what we are today? It can be neurobiological, it can be laboratory-based, because we need to understand how the primate brain works, because then we will get insights into our brains as well. But finally, going into the social domain, will our knowledge of the primate mind influence the way we relate to them? If I know that a macaque feels pain, if I know a fish feels pain, will it affect the way I treat a fish, I treat a macaque, the way we develop relationships with them? I think it's very important for each of us to think whether how we are influencing the lives of the species we study, right? And so we have looked at a variety of questions. We've looked at social knowledge, abstraction, the conception of the self. We've looked at intentionality and tactical deception. We've looked at referentiality in multimodal communication. We have looked at mechanical intelligence, the manufacture of tools, how these tools are produced through insight, of course, and we've looked at culture. And I just want to show you a very brief clip, just about half a minute, of a very interesting behavior we've seen, which is mango washing. And the reason why I wanted to show you this clip is because it'll tell you how from just one observation of washing a mango, we were able to think about cognition, we were able to think of insights, we were able to think of tool use, we were able to think of referentiality, and overall, we got an amazing glimpse, and cultural traditions, of course. So we got an amazing glimpse of how the primate brain works through just this. So let me just show you this clip. So here are two male monkeys which have learned how to wash mangoes. So these are wild mangoes that float down the river Moyar in Bandipur. And as you can see, before consuming them, they wash them. Now, this is not only to remove dirt, but it's also perhaps to remove the some of the sap, which makes it a little unpalatable. So it washes it repeatedly. And now you will see with his left hand, he will remove some dirt, which and he washes his hand. So he uses water as a tool, and then he keeps the mango under his foot and he loses it. Now he's searching for it, but while he's searching for it, you will realize that he has a mental image. He knows physically what the mango is like. So he does have mental imagery. He's planning for the future. He's looking for a mango, a particular mango. And so he's planning for the future. And once he finds it, he washes it again. Right? And this, I think, is an extremely important observation I made, not only in terms of cultural traditions, but at that time, what also occurred to me is that the world of the monkey really goes beyond the quantitative studies, the statistical analyses that I have done. I think there are other aspects of a monkey's life that I needed to understand, and that brought me to the social sciences. I came into what is now known as animal studies, and I came in through my understandings of anthropology. I started working with a couple of collaborators on archaeology of primate remains. And that took me ultimately to understanding how the non-human plays a role in theater, in music, in cultural studies in our society. And that came home to me because I've realized that non-human primates and humans have a very long period of association with one another. We develop very strong relationships, and these relationships needed to be understood not only in terms of the life worlds that we have developed around us, but how these life worlds includes the non-human beings who live with us. It could be the mosquito that you're trying desperately to kill in your home, or it could be the macaque that comes into your garden, or it could be the tiger that you go out into the forest to see. But we have relationships with these species, and we need to understand how our decisions in our lives influence the lives of these other species as well. And therefore, I've launched into a study of looking at the non-human in Indian urban. And that what brought me home here is it's critically important to understand ethnographies. We need to go into qualitative methods. We need to understand exactly what each act of a monkey might mean. Each look, each gesture may not be amenable to statistical analysis, may not be amenable to quantification, but the richness of qualitative descriptions and ethnographies is something that I've now realized, and is something that I follow. And therefore, there are macaque narratives. There are decisions that macaques are taking. There are certain acts that they have. What is the implication of those acts, not only for our lives, but for their lives as well? And this comes in only when you understand these macaques in different ways. And when I'm talking of macaques, it's because I know them best. But it might be true for all the species that you will study, or the species that you're already studying. If I look at the macaques in the city, there are considerations of the everyday. There are children who can't go to school because of macaques sitting in their classroom. It could be about the bureaucratic. There are macaques walking through the north and the south block of Delhi. It could be about public health. It could be about the welfare considerations, not only for humans, but for the macaques themselves as well. There are so many aspects. So thank you very much. I wanted to end by saying that no work is done in isolation. Just as the macaques have contributed to my understanding, there have been a very large number of friends, colleagues, students, postdocs that I have worked with, that I continue to work with, and without them, I'm no one. It's really them. It's their work that I have talked about. I only get a chance to talk about their work. And there are also a large number of organizations which typically support your work. There are a large number of organizations which provide you funding. And remember that none of this, none of what I talked about, none of what you are doing, or none of what you will do will ever be possible without our associations with a very large number of individuals and organizations. And I think we should be grateful for the fact that they have come forward to help us, to work with us. And I think there's so much, therefore, to be said about collaborations, about working together. And so finally, let me end with my favorite Malcolm de Chazal again. Remember, he said monkeys are superior to men in this. When a monkey looks into the mirror, he sees a monkey. I see a monkey in myself as well. Ultimately, at the end of it, we are all monkeys. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rana. That was lovely, lovely talk. And I'm sure the participants must have realized that how, when you do an exploratory research, which you are so passionately following, that you come across very different perspectives of your own understanding of several subjects. Yes. And that is what is intriguing in research. And if you follow it, I think that contentment that with Anindya was talking about, that today would die very happily, is something that we all would get. Really, really, Professor Rana. And I now would ask the participants, in case they have any questions, some interesting aspects that you would like explanations from Professor Rana, please go ahead, put it in your chat box. Or if you can raise your hand, I think, Vivek, that can we allow that?
There are a couple of questions on already in the chat box.
Okay, fine. Rana, if you can look at it yourself.
Yeah, I can do it. Let me just see which are the, so thank you very much. There are wonderful compliments that you have paid me. I don't think I deserve it. I only talked about what I have seen around me. It's not about me at all, but thank you very much for all your comments. Let me just highlight some questions. Padmaja asks, according to Darwin, humans are evolved through monkeys, but today we are able to see monkeys. Basically, what is your opinion about Darwin's theory? So Padmaja, let me just clarify one thing here. We have not evolved through monkeys. Monkeys that we see around us today, and we have had common ancestors. Yes, the common ancestor may have looked a little more perhaps like the monkeys, may have looked a little less, but if you moved again through the evolutionary pathway, you will again then get to see individuals who perhaps then started looking a little more than like what we look at today. So in some sense, we have not evolved from monkeys. We have evolved from common ancestors. And of course, the reason why all these species coexist, look at the bacteria. Look at the prokaryotes, right? They were perhaps some of the earliest species to have evolved, and they continue to live today. And the reason they continue to live today is because they're immensely successful. Remember that if there is a nuclear holocaust, the humans will be the first to go. We may have gone to the moon, we may have invented the computer, which is why I'm being able to talk to you today, but we are so vulnerable. If there is a nuclear holocaust, my favorite cockroach will survive. It will survive by eating human hair. It will survive by eating candle wax. It will compartmentalize the toxic heavy metals, and it will continue to live. So let's not be too proud of who we are. We are another unique species, but then the cockroach is unique as well. So I think we should look at evolution as a network. It's not a simple ladder. It's not that one replaces the other. All of us coexist in this network. Some of us will appear again. Some of us will disappear because of various factors, but this is all a part of natural evolutionary process. Right. Now, Leena Pilankar has asked, do you think that behavioral studies are wide apart from genetics or molecular studies? Because most of the time we study them as independent subjects. Extremely important point, Leena, and thank you for bringing this up. Let us not forget, and I realized that when I did my PhD, in the interviews, they asked us, and this is 1985, they asked us, what do you want to do for a PhD? And all of us very excitedly said, we want to clone a gene. We want to clone a gene. That's because cloning was just coming in. And it was fascinating that you could even clone a gene. But don't forget that cloning a gene is just a technique. It's a method that allows you to understand the genetic functions subsequently. And if you understand the genetic functions, you will then realize that it's not just about the cellular environment. It's about a very large environment out there. There's a recent study in Nature which showed that when a mother rat licks the head of her offspring, certain genes get turned on. Now, the authors actually simulated the licking of the infant offspring's head by the mother, simulated by rubbing a wet finger or a red gloved finger or whatever, and those genes didn't get turned on. So it's possible that it's not the physical action of the licking, but it could also be the smell of the mother. It could be the closeness with which it's huddling to the mother. There could be so many factors out there that influences even the switching on of a gene, and the cloning of a gene will perhaps help you one day to understand that. So when I think of behavior, yes, it is another field of study, and it can have a wide variety of tools. It could be simply observational. It could be analytical in various ways. You could do computer modeling on behavior, but it could also be genetic. It could be biochemical. We can look at the molecules that interact with one another and with the environment to generate that behavior. And therefore, now I think this distinction that we make of nature versus nurture is really artificial. I'll give you another example. There are so much of personality dimensions, for example, same-sex relationships, right? Homosexuality. It has now been shown that homosexuality can appear in individuals in very large families where there have been a series of sons, right? And many times the youngest sons tend to have a homosexual orientation. The reason for this is fascinating. It is just that every time a woman conceives a male fetus, her level of androgens in her blood go up. And this androgens remain as a memory so that the later born sons are exposed to a very high level of androgen, which has a feminizing, so-called feminizing influence. And therefore, would you call this environmental? Or would you call this genetic? Possibly because of certain changes in even perhaps in brain morphology, cellular morphology, certain connections that are made, it could be that such a infant, when it is born, is predisposed to homosexuality, we will always often say this is genetic, but it's not genetics. It's just because of the androgens and in the mother's bloodstream that was circulating at that time. And that is a microenvironment. So what is nature? What is nurture? Every gene that gets turned on has environmental influences, either of the microenvironment, of the other protein molecules around it, or the other DNA molecules around it, or at other levels at the tissue, at the organ level, or perhaps at the environmental level. So I think we need to break down these barriers and try and look at it as a continuum, where biology is one large continuum where one level feeds into the others, right? My question.
Can you take Jay Kumar, because he has raised his hand?
Sure, sure. And then I'll come back to the chat box then.
Yes. Jay Kumar, you have raised your hand. Okay, fine. Rana can go back to the chat. Maybe one or two questions, and then we need to.
Sure. I think, yeah. So Mrunmayi has written, have I worked on reproductive behavior of bonnets? I have at a behavioral level. I have not worked at it at the reproductive physiology level, but there are some laboratories in Bangalore in the Institute of Science which have been looking at reproductive biology of bonnet macaques. But I don't have time to expound on that. Perhaps on some other occasion, I will talk about mate choice and decisions that individual macaques make with regard to partners, perhaps, and whether some of this reproductive behavior actually translates into paternity, or the factors which influence offspring survival. So I have looked at some of these factors, right? So continuing again, thank you all for your very nice comments. Karvanan asks, can you let us know what are the different areas of research available in India using traditional methods? Very, very few. Very, very few, but it's up to us. It's up to each of us to start exploring these traditional methods, and using the expertise that we have learned in the course of our own lives, can we then start looking at these traditional methods, incorporating them into our work, finding out what they have said, testing them again if necessary. But I think each of us has to be aware that there are these traditional ways of thinking that we need to think about. Can humans and monkeys communicate? Yes. This is Anirudh Hobera, and very much. And in fact, I have some work which has documented just 2 years ago a completely new form of communication, where the bonnet macaques of Bandipur have developed a new gesture, raising of one's hand, and they direct this not to any other macaque, they only direct it to humans holding food. So the macaques have actually evolved a new form of social communication to communicate with another species, which is us. And there is so much that can be said about it.
I think,
but I don't have time to talk about it.
Majid Haider now. He has asked for a clarification, and then we can stop.
Sure. Yeah, so Majid Haider says, okay, very nice. I don't agree with one thing which you said at last. After all, we are monkeys. Can you elaborate and explain it? Yes. What is a monkey? Can you define a monkey? And I can tell you that if you define a monkey in a particular way, just as Darwin pointed out, or just as our molecular genetics genomic studies tell you, 99% of what you say about a monkey will be applicable to us. So I would therefore argue that if I look at monkey as being a very different being from me, so is Shashi Kumarji. I think he's as different from me as I am from certain other monkeys. The reason why I'm saying this is because it depends on what characteristic features are we talking about. If you talk about some of my morphological features, of course, I'm more like Shashi than I'm like a macaque. But if you look at some of my behavioral patterns, if you look at some of the ways I perhaps use tools, or how I fail to use tools, I will also point out that I'm perhaps more macaque-like than Shashi-like. So I think we need to rethink whether we are talking about kinds Or are we just talking about degrees? What is a biological being? It's an assemblage of a very large number of traits and features. And I think the time has come to look at them in individuality, as individuals, individual traits, how that has evolved, what manifestations does it have? And then when you put them together, you make a unique being, and a bonnet macaque and a cockroach and I are all unique beings with different levels of relatedness to each other. This relatedness not being just genetic or evolutionary, also social, also conceptual, also philosophical. Yeah. Thanks, Shashi.
Thank you, Professor Rana. I think we took quite a lot of important questions from the chat box.
Yes.
And
we've covered all the questions in the chat box. I don't see any other question there.
Yes, and anyone else who need to contact or ask questions can put it in your links, and then we would come back to you in due course. And of course, Rana is available at Bangalore, the institutions, and you can pick up his links at his own institutional levels, and then you can be in continue. What is more important from his talk is a takeaway that be passionate and be clear about your decisions, and then you would explore more successfully. And then I think, sky's the limit, Rana. I think it is, yes. There's a small area of work with one species. He could encourage all of us and even initiate some kind of thinking at a different angle. That shows that how species is so very diverse in their existence, adaptations, and in the utilization of resource and how they interact with us. Thank you, Professor Rana, for that very nice, enriching talk. Indeed, it is really enriching. Thank you, and thank you, participants, for that patience and also being with us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Yes.
Going ahead
and follow your heart. I think above everything, you must follow your
Following.
heart, because that's where your passion lies, that's where your creativity lies, and that's what is going to actually make your life worth it for yourself.
Absolutely.
If you can follow that passion.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Shashi.
Thank you, Professor. I would now take the session forward, and I will request now Dr. Vivek Parker from INEAS to give a short comprehensive report of the entire seminar till today. And after that, he would be further coordinating the responses from the participants. We are eagerly awaiting your responses to us. Those who want to express their views about the seminar, some modifications, improvements, we are really open to all of you. And over to you, Dr. Vivek. Please take up the platform.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Vivek, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I am here to give the brief report of the entire workshop. First of all, I thank you, all of you, for giving this overwhelming response for this OCELS-21 workshop. And this was done during the duration of 6th to 13th of June. Today is 13th June. They're ending today. And this is the typical flyer we have released on the 15th of May. That was the flyer released through various platforms, through Facebook, through Google Groups, through Gmails, and through various channels from ATBS as well as from INEAS. And the last date of registration was given at the 3rd June was the date of registration, but we have extended it, and we have accepted the registrations till 5th of June as well. And typical target audience was PG life science students, and every day we have 2 lectures from 10 to 12, and followed by MCQ type based examinations. These are our patrons for this workshop. From ATBS, President Chaturvedi, Joint Secretary Professor Kale, and Dr. Bimal Nath, Vice President of ATBS. They have helped us in organizing this event, entire workshop. Whenever we need any help, we contacted them. They have given their suggestions to improvement of this, how to take ahead this workshop, and that way we are gonna, they have mentored us for this entire workshop. And these are the coordinators from the ATBS side and from INEAS. And we have all got the resource persons from various institutions. This is the registration form that we have created, and we have received, as you can see, the number here. There are 2013 registrations we have received for this entire workshop, and this is really, really very overwhelming response for this workshop. This is the typical plot we have made, like MSc completion year-wise distribution I have shown here. As you can see here, the number of students who are completing MSc in the next year, like 2022, are the most applications we have received from them, followed by 2021. Yes, they have just completed MSc. They are next to that, and followed by the rest of them. So that is the distribution, MSc completion year-wise distribution. Also, we have plotted the statewide distribution. As you can see, there are all the many states have participated in this workshop. A lot of students from different states have participated, from different universities from the states. And you can see Maharashtra has the highest number, around 700, followed by West Bengal, and then the different states have contributed. You can see we have got the applications from Dubai as well as from Egypt also. Maybe some students are working there or doing PhDs there, and they also have registered for this workshop. So thank you all of you for that. And this is the brief summary of this entire workshop. So as you can see, the total number of registrations we have received is 2013, and actual sessions were conducted on Zoom platform, and YouTube live streaming was made available for the participants. And the first day, that is the inauguration on 6th June, we have started with inauguration of the workshop. The dignitaries include Professor M.M. Chaturvedi, President of ATBS, Professor Bimal Nath, Vice President of ATBS, Professor Kale, Joint Secretary of ATBS, then Professor Menon, General Secretary of ATBS, Professor P. Nayak, Treasurer of ATBS, and other office bearers of ATBS. Along with, we have also Chair of INIAS, Professor Sharma. He has also joined in for that short duration of inauguration. And other organizing members from ATBS and INIAS and all the resource persons have also joined for this inauguration function. This was followed by the short lecture of 15 minutes on the general pattern of examinations by Professor Vishal Kadu, and followed by his first session on developmental biology. This is the first session we was conducted on the first day. And then on this next day, from 7 to 13, we have the schedule as we have given to all of you. We have, as per the schedule, we have conducted all the lectures. Thanks to all the resource persons, and heads up to all of them. For there is no hiccups or anything. We don't have to change any plan. As per the plan, we have went ahead with the plan, and we could able to complete this workshop. So on the second day, we have Dr. Sudhir Verma, Mr. Kaushik Unamdar, Mr. Sushil Kumar Ghadge, Mr. Jatin Vaiti, Ms. Nivedita Gurada, Ms. Tejasvi Kadu, Dr. Mukesh Pimpliscar, Dr. Mahilini, Dr. Dan Bahadur Singh, Dr. Sai Joshi, Dr. Sachin Purohit, and Dr. Ram Bahadur Subedi. These are the resource persons that had taught different topics of the workshop, and on the given time, they have finished in given time, and also they have got a lot of responses from the YouTube channel as well, as we'll see in the next slide. And today we have heard very enrichment talk by Professor Anindra Sinha. It's really extremely enlightened to hear to him, and he has shared his experiences. And as a young scientist like me, it is really it will be helpful. His words of advice will be really helpful for us, all of us. Thank you, Professor Rana, for this enrichment talk. And all these days, evenings were kept free for online assessments through Google Forms, and we were sending Google Forms every day after the sessions in the morning were over. And all the videos of this online workshop will be available and are available on INIAS YouTube channel. And this is the screenshot of the YouTube channel. As you can see, from day 1 to day 7, you can see all the YouTube videos are available in this playlist of OCELS-21. This is the playlist created for this workshop, 6 to 13 June 2021, and all the lecturers are available on this playlist. This is the number of views as record on 12th of June, yesterday only. I have just copied down the number of views from the YouTube channel. As you can see, we have reached more than 3,000 views from the first day, followed by different views, number of views you can see here. And these number of views will be going on increasing as the time progress. And definitely you people take advantage of these videos. These are for you only, and share with your friends so that they will also get benefited from this workshop. This is the typical Google group we have created for correspondence. As you can see, all the participants have been added to the Google group, and typical number 2015 members are there in the OCELS-21 group. So the idea of forming the Google group is that we can send the email in one email. We can reach to all the participants. Whatever correspondence we wanted to make is possible through one Google group only. You can see the all the messages, emails we were sending are registered here in the Google group. You can see if you missed any of the email, you can go to the Google group and find out the correspondence from us. All the emails are listed here. Okay. This is the online assessment record till today. So test 1 has the maximum number of students have attempted test 1. 550 students have attempted it, and the number is going on, like numbers are given here for different tests, and still people are I hope people are still attempting these online assessments as well. And we will be keeping it open as also. We are not closing these assignments, so it will be always open. Also, we are thinking of closing that limit to 1 response. Also, we'll remove that, so that this Google Forms will be always available with you. You can attempt it as when you feel you are prepared yourself for self-assessment, and that will be always available for you. This is the screenshot of the Google form that we have created. This is the one test which has received the maximum response, 550 responses, and we can see how many people have got the score from this. Different students have got how much score, that we can see from the distribution, that or the owner of this Google group, Google form, can see that how much the score participants have scored in this exam. Okay, few takeaways for this workshop. What you have taken from this workshop, that according to me, we have 13 into 30 questions. So 13 sessions into 30 questions, like 10 questions were discussed in the class, and remaining 20 questions were given in the Google form. So we have 390 questions. The question bank is available to you for practice. That is a huge number, and it definitely is going to benefit you for solving various questions related to the topics you have learned in the sessions. Okay, another thing is that all Google YouTube videos are available on INEOS YouTube channel. So you can view it anytime, and that will be always like a repository or a knowledge bank with you, that you can keep it and you can refer it again and again. And for part A, which is not covered in this workshop, we'll be providing one Google YouTube link. Actually, we have done part A in the previous workshop for chemistry. I will provide you the Google YouTube link for that, so that problem also will be solved. Part A problems you can attempt from, you can learn from them from the YouTube link. And study material also will be sending through Google Drive. After this workshop, we'll making one Google Drive, and we'll send some few study material of this workshop. And INEOS will continue to do more such activities in future. So please follow us on INEOS YouTube channel. All activities will be there on INEOS YouTube channel. And I want to inform you that recently we have started one activity that is Windows of Opportunities, which is for Windows of Opportunities in Science and Engineering. You can go into the YouTube channel and you can find it in the playlist. There are different, we call different experts from different fields, and they talk about what are the excitements in their field and what are the opportunities in their field. So every weekend we organize this series of workshops, a series of lectures, and you can follow us on this YouTube channel. Okay, with this, I wish you all the best for the exams, and I hope you will be able to clear these exams with good ranks. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Vivek. I think there is somebody asking you for a code of the Google group. You can reply to that person. Sheikh Shahid is asking for a code.
There is no code. All the email IDs, all the registered email IDs, we have added into the Google group. So I hope you are receiving all the emails from us. So there is nothing code or something like that.
Okay, Dr. Vivek, that was really a very nice report of the workshop, and as participant, I'm sure each one of us will be very happy to follow up all the items that you have mentioned, especially about the question bank, about keeping the test open so that we can do it many number of times as much as possible, and also giving the link so that we can have look at other videos available. And I'm very happy that you mentioned about the part A and also the study material for this workshop, which will be available to everyone. Really, thank you, INEOS, and a great initiative from you. I would now request Dr. Vivek once again. Now, please coordinate the responses from the participants regarding this workshop, and after which we can ask our Vice President to respond to them back.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Okay, so as you know, as per the schedule, we want to hear from you what you felt about this workshop. What is your feedback? How we go ahead? What are the takeaway messages for you? And if you want to do the similar workshops, what are the improvements we can do that you can suggest? So you can. There is an option of raise hand. You click on the participant, you will find that option. And if you put that raise hand option, then we'll call one by one. You can see that option, participants. Yeah, in the participants, there is a raise hand option is there. You can click on that option and then we'll call. Okay, first is Ramesh Pawar. Yes, please unmute and start. Yeah, please unmute.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, yes. If possible, you can switch on your video also.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello, sir. I really enjoyed this orientation, competitive ignorance for life science.
Oh.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sir. Hello, sir. I really enjoyed this orientation, competitive life science. I really enjoyed all these sessions, sir. And in this session, a very useful knowledge and tricks came to my mind. Such a excellent session, sir. It is very useful to crack our CSR UGC net. This workshop was beautifully executed to bring together research and practice, sir. Excellent workshop. Learned a great deal and inspired to learn more, sir. And thank you for all the resources, sir and ma'am, to give a wonderful opportunity to crack CSR UGC net, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ramesh. Okay, next we have the name is not written. It is written Galaxy M30. I don't know the name. You can tell your name, your university also you can tell, and then you can start. Galaxy M30. Yes, yeah, okay.
Yes, hello sir. I am Ankita Mitra.
Yeah, you are from which university?
And I am from the University of Burdwan, West Bengal.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So currently I am pursuing my master's in zoology, and this session was very helpful because it helped me to understand how to approach my studies for NET, because I was confused as how to start the studies. But this session was very enriching, and I would love to attend more sessions like this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any more? You can click on the Shraddha Jadhav. Yes. Yeah, unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead. If possible, you can switch on the video also. First tell your name and university name and then proceed. Shraddha, we cannot hear you. Okay, we move to the next one. Sheikh Shahid. Sheikh Shahid, unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Yeah. From which university?
My name is Sheikh Shahid. I am from Jammu and Kashmir. I am studying at SP College, Srinagar. I want to thank you all for this amazing workshop. All the testers, the testers which I attended, and all the lectures from all the professors were very great. And I at last I want to thank you, sir, sir, Professor Rana, for this amazing session. It was a really a great workshop. Thank you for this amazing workshop.
Thank you, Sheikh. Then we have next is Padmaja M.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm extremely very happy about your organization.
You're not audible. Padmaja, you're not audible. Okay, we move to the next one. Karvanian. Yeah. Padmaja, you can come back later. Yeah. Karvanan, please unmute yourself. Yeah. You're not audible. Maybe some internet issue is there. We move to the next one. Fernandez William Francisco.
Good morning, sir. We
Yeah.
thank word of appreciation and gratitude. I'm from Goa for conducting such type of workshops. I have been trying CSIR net for lectureship for many number of times. I have attended some other resources, but in this workshop, we had many resource persons with the area of specialization guiding special topics based on the syllabus, which has given me a more enriching and enhancing the knowledge with reference to the area of interest, where they were very approaching and coordinating in solving the doubts, and though they have given the numbers to approach if we have doubts in future. Thank you, a word of appreciation and gratitude for conducting such type of workshops, and we look forward for such type of workshops in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fernandez William.
Anuradha, you can talk now. Anuradha. Anuradha,
Hi,
you have raised your hands.
hi. Here, Anirudh.
Yeah. Yes.
So I felt this seminar was very informative and useful for our exam. So I would like to attend this kind of session in coming future. This was really informative because I was really confused about how to study and start the preparation for NET and ICM and NET. After attending this workshop, I'm getting how to plan my study after for preparation. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Padmaja, you can unmute and start.
Yeah, hello. Good morning, everyone. I'm just switched on to another device. So it was a fantastic week for me. In fact, I have learned a lot of information from some various experts. I would like to call them experts because each and everyone have they have solved each and every one question, each and every one of them, and they also specified that you can expect some kind of questions like that, like in case of genetics and in plant biology and etc. They have specified all those things. That is very very informative, and according to this competitive exams, studying all these subjects, that is okay, but we need to know how to solve a particular question in the short span of time. So that is very very useful. In fact, in genetics, I have learned something like very nice techniques in genetics. So especially in I don't have any other words to express my happiness, and please continue this thing. I also shared the YouTube information to all my friends for the previous sessions. Like in various departments have friends, so like chemistry and physics also you have conducted. So I have shared all those things also. Please continue this service because it is a very nice thing. And you also mentioned that part A will be shared in this chat box, or should we see in our YouTube, or how you will?
Yeah, we will share it in the Google group.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you so much. It was a very fantastic week for us.
Yeah,
please continue this. Thank you.
Thank you, Padmaja. With this online platform, it has given us the opportunity to reach out to as many number of students as possible. So we could reach about 2,000 students, which is really wonderful. So this is we are taking advantage of this online online training. Okay. Yeah. Any more feedbacks? Yeah, from the resource person also, if anyone somebody want to give feedback, you can give that feedback as well. You can raise your hand and then we can call one by one. There are a lot of
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
DB Singh here.
Yeah.
DB Singh.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm not switching on my video because there is a network issues because my Wi-Fi is already gone.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
So should I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A very good morning to all of you. First, as a resource person, I would like to thank two important stakeholders of the workshop. One is the managing committee, which include ATVS and INEAS, and another one is dear participants. First, I will talk about ATVS and INEAS. In this pandemic era, arranging this type of workshop and delivering it perfectly, it is always a great job for everyone, even for the resource person, because we are getting a huge exposure. Then workshop like this needs we all know that best planning, best resource person, you have to search for them, coordination and best execution, you can say. So these two organizations together, they have done a commendable job. And for that, I am thankful to both of you, both these organizations, and also time management, because we know in such programs, time is always crucial. So time management and tests were conducted very beautifully every day in the evening session. Google form link was sent to the student for their test. So both way, one is the lecture session, another one is the test session. On the same day, student can judge themselves. So personally, I am very thankful to these two organizations. And when it comes to students or participants, so I'm saying that interaction in this pandemic era, online mode is totally different, because we have got question on through YouTube link in their comment box, or they have sent to they can send to the Google group. So due to time constraint, we have not entertained all the questions, but surely we will try our best to solve your all query. One thing, I have gone through your Google form for test number 11, I think, and I am very happy that few students had done well. For some students, I just say be focused, and there are 3 mantras for this exam. The first one, make your study comprehensive first thing, and when you are studying, make a note, not notes word to word, make a only key point, because you will get the material everywhere. May write only the keywords and keep it with you. Then analyze last year question papers and think about the future scope, because questions will change in near future, because saturation level when received, they will go for some changes. And the third one is, wherever there is a requirement of update, please go for that. Don't have book which is 10 or 20 years back publication. So wherever you are getting updation chance, please do it. Again, in last, I will like to thank both the organization ATVS and INEAS and our all dear students. And also, as a resource person, I would like to thank all the resource person for this good job. Thank you to all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
In the session, Vivek.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
I think we can end the session because we are.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So there are a lot of appreciation comments in the chat box as well. So thank you, all of you. Yes, sir. You can take it ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vivek, and thank you for all the participants who gave the response. And definitely thanks Singh sir for giving those last comments. I'm sure the participants will take note of your points. Now, taking forward, I would bring our president of ATBS, Professor Bimalendu B. Nath, to give response to all the respondents who have given. Vice President. Sorry. Professor Nath is an emeritus professor at the Department of Zoology in the SP Pune University, and is also visiting faculty at the Institute of Bioinformatics and Biotechnology. Kale sir, your mic is not muted. He has done his doctorate from Banaras Hindu University, and he has worked in the area of heat shock gene expression. After his doctorate, he took up a postdoctoral associate position in the molecular biology unit of Indian Institute of Medical Sciences, and then he joined University of Pune and the faculty. And the important thing is that with his research experience, he actually established a stress biology research group using Drosophila and Chironomus as model, and this group is quite active at the University of Pune even today. He is a national mentor in the NIUS program of the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. He is also a visiting faculty at various biology departments of the University of Pune, and he is a visiting scientist at the IMT Phillips University, Marburg, France. And then he has published several research articles, including book chapters, reviews, protocols, pedagogical notes. He is also on the editorial board of some of the peer-reviewed journals. He has given invited lectures both in India and in institutions abroad. He was awarded the Best Teacher of 2014 by the University of Pune, and he's also associated with several associations related to scientific work, as I've listed them. And most importantly, he is the Vice President of Association of Teachers in Biological Sciences, one of the co-organizers of this online workshop. I request Professor Nath to give his comments to the responses received and in general, the workshop that has been going on since last 7 days. Over to you, Professor Nath.
Thank you, Dr. Menon. Am I audible?
Very well. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So good morning, all of you. This workshop, OCELS-21, has been a great success. Although we have conducted this workshop online, I mean, it's near pandemic situation, which has put all of us rather in isolation. In spite of that, we got overwhelming response from the participants across the country, thanks to INEAS, and particularly Dr. Vivek Parker, who is a brainchild behind this OCELS-21, Professor Kale, Vikrant Ghanekar, Dr. Menon, and many others who spearheaded this program 2 months before. And so they deserve a huge compliment from all of us. And especially, I would like to thank, on behalf of ATBS, colleagues of ATBS, thank INEAS for taking us along with them. Now, a few words for the candidates who will be appearing, aspiring candidate for the competitive exams. Now, competitive exams are altogether, the different. If you look at the other kind of regular exams, in fact, I have seen many toppers of different board or in college universities who fail to perform well in competitive exams because those who will be appearing for the first time after attending this workshop, you must have realized that in competitive exams you are not evaluated for your handwriting or presentation skill or the way you write descriptive answers or narratives. So basically, you need a different type of mindset, different approach, strategy, in order to crack these competitive exams, whether it is CSIR, NET, GATE, or many other. In regular exams, like what happens, and knowing the facts or the concepts in general may be sufficient. But in competitive exams, application of these concepts are required, and a candidate needs to practice how to apply logic for solving questions. And I'm sure in this workshop, it has provided you a basic toolkit, what I say, a toolkit. And I'm sure that you all have gathered, whatever you have gathered from all the resource persons, you'll be able to put all this knowledge into a practice and make use of all these academic, the takeaways back home. Remember, there are many things you have to start, the preparing yourself. Don't compare yourself with others, because you have to everybody is different, so have faith on yourself, because the IQ level differs and other things may differ. But remember, there is no substitute for hard work. Okay, like if from Pune I have to reach Mumbai. So if I have a chartered flight, I can reach very soon. If I do not have, then I can go by bus or by train, or even if I have no means, I can walk and I can reach. The destination is reaching Mumbai. So believe in yourself, and plan how to they avoid negative marking. One of the things which I over the years I have seen that the time constraint. So manage your time. That is very, very important, and that comes when you practice. Okay, self-assessment and all that. And many students I have seen that when they go for many of these online, the MCQs available template or books buy from the market, they are after some time they just do not think. They stop thinking. Look at the answer keys, the back of the book. Don't do this. They make every day you can make a habit of appearing for mock test and test your improvement and so on. So basically, I wish all the best for your future endeavor. I wish you success, and that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nath. I think that was a very nice synoptic view of the entire thing, and thanks for your views at the end. Participants, you just listen to someone who is also involved in the organization of these kind of competitive exams. So a sort of horse's mouth remarks you have heard, especially give more importance to the points that he mentioned about time management and preparing for the examination in the right earnest. I'm sure these 7 days have really helped you in doing that. Just off the cuff, going to a different point, I seen somebody commenting on the certificates. Please try to understand this is a competency improvement course, and therefore we expect you all to self-analyze and self-improve. We have just guided you. So this certification was never a part of this organization of this workshop. And secondly, there are a lot of logistical problems because many of the participants have joined by YouTube. They have been joining even today. Some of them are looking at the YouTube. So we will not be able to give real credence to who has appeared for all the sessions and full honest. So thinking of all those things, please don't consider a certification for your participation as a very important thing. What we want is you all getting sensitized, you all getting the right perspective to strategize for the appearing for the exam, and then most importantly that all of you become confident of passing these competitive exam. And I'm sure then as organizers we would have reached all the objectives of this workshop. Thank you again, Nath sir, for your kind words, and again Vivek for picking up the comments from the participants. Now I would like to say bye to all of you because my session ends here, and I would hand over the reins to Mr. Vikrant from HBCSC, who would conduct the vote of thanks. And of course, as he has put it in the chat box, all of us need to be there for a group photo. So please don't leave. Vikrant, please take over the platform. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to thank Menon sir that he conducted the whole session.
Your voice is a little low. Can you come little close?
Yeah, hello. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
fine. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So I would like to thank Menon sir for conducting whole session today very smoothly. And first of all, I would like to thank all the participants, because without participants, all our efforts, all these efforts from last maybe 2-3 months, that would have been vain. So your participation is important. And of course, the main person uh, whose this idea came from Dr. Vivek Parker. I thank you, Vivek, for coming up with this wonderful idea, and then approaching ATBS for conducting this workshop. I also thank Professor Kale, because for last couple of months he was continuously contacting different people, resource persons, and the main aim was to cover maximum topics which are there in net exam or all the competitive exams. So he was trying his best to give you the maximum advantage and covering all the concepts in these all 7 days. So I think he was continuously contacting different experts, and we all know that from last week that I think to some extent we were successful in giving you uh, the best of it. I also thank all the INEAS members, right from Professor Sharma and all the other coordinators for giving all the support and all the technical things they handled. I think making Google group and adding all participants, all continuously keeping contact and sending all assessment sheets. That was as equally important as the lecture sessions. So I thank you all. I thank all ATBS members, Professor Chaturvedi, Rana sir, Nath sir. Without their support, it would have not been possible to conduct this workshop in such a pandemic situation. So everyone really supported this initiative, and I think we have also shared a feedback form. So I request everyone to give your feedback and also suggest what other things we can add in future workshops, or what improvements you need from our side. So we'll try to fulfill your requirements accordingly. And last but not least, the INEAS office, Madhvi ma'am, I thank you. She conducted all these sessions right from starting at 9:30 up to 12:30. She's there for handling Zoom platform. So I thank you, Madhvi ma'am. I thank all the people who are directly or indirectly involved in this program. And with these words, I would like to end this. We are towards the end of this program, but I request everyone to please stay with us for some time, as we are going to take one group photograph. So, Vivek?
Yeah. All can switch on their cameras, and then we will start the group photograph. Madhavi, can you do it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I can see 3 screens are there. You have to go. Yeah. Yeah, still people are switching on their cameras, so you can wait for some time.
Yes. Please turn on the cameras because Lot of people.
Please turn on your cameras so we can pick the quick photographs. Yeah, Madhuri, done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, thank you all of you once again for joining for this last 7 days. It was really wonderful workshop with your support, and all the videos are there available on your INEAS YouTube channel. You can view it again and again and revise your lectures, and it will be really beneficial for you. And all the best for your future exams, competitive exams that you are going to appear. And thank you all of you.
Thank you, all of you. All the best and do well in your examinations. Thank you, Vivek.
Yeah.
Thank you,
sir.
Vikrant.
Yeah. Kali sir. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Sir, uh, sir,
Shahid, we can't listen. Can you be
sir, can I receive the group photograph?
Yeah. Okay, we'll send it to you. All the participants will send it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
We'll
sir.
end it here. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Allah, sir.
Yeah, Madhuri, you can stop streaming.